Hey guys, how y'all doing? I'm here to give you guys a recap on the new episode of Sword Art Online Alicization on episode 4. Now, this episode right here, pretty in a simple way that I could really not give a lot of detail in terms of recapping it, but if anything else, let's just get this started, even though it's going to be a little bit long, around like 10 minutes or so. Hopefully less, we'll have to see. Enough of me talking and rambling on like an idiot, let's go. We have to it that Kirito tells Yujiro to keep his cool and not lose himself, you know? This is the last thing that Kirito needs him to do. So he decides to tell Yujiro, here's what we're gonna do. I want you to distract the goblins while I take on its goblin leader. And of course, eventually, Kirito, being a freaking like boss-like swordsman as usual, ends up using some sword skills which somehow managed to happen in the world that he's in right now, you know? Apparently, we all got that hint that sword skills is a thing to happen in in the world that Kirito is at right now. And apparently, he uses some of that against the goblin leader. And apparently, we see to it that Kirito made one mistake apparently and dropped his guard. And he gets a cut on his arm. He actually feels devastating pain. And we see to it that Kirito almost got himself killed till Yujiro comes in to help him out. Eventually, Yujiro says he will be the one to protect him now, and then he gets hit right in the abdomen, and apparently he loses unconscious. Eventually, Kirito gets really upset about this, and he ends up using everything he's got, and he kills the goblin's leader. Eventually, he challenges the goblins like, "You want to take me on? Please, come at me. I'll freaking slaughter every single one of you," kind of thing. With that kind of attitude and face expression, you know? And eventually all the goblins seeing their leader down and seeing what Kirito is really capable of as a swordsman, they end up leaving right away. And we see to it that Kirito wakes up Selka and says, "We gotta save him," you know? And Selka says, "This is gonna be risky though. It's beyond my arts and power, sacred arts whatsoever, but if you and I mess this up, make one mistake, we both gonna die." That's how I'm gonna say it right now. And we see to it that Kirito, before he loses unconsciousness, a girl ends up appearing before him and says, "I'll await for you at the central top of the cathedral, or the top of the central cathedral, which one that seems fit for you." And Kirito loses his conscience. Eventually, Kirito and Yujiro continues to chop down the tree, but since Kirito and Yujiro increase their holding a weapon, or maybe better suited for the weapon whatsoever, that's beyond the blue sword's requirement. They are able to swing the sword. So Kirito ends up swinging a sword towards the tree and actually managed to damage the tree a lot more, you know? So it looks like to me using a sword with a certain sword skill seems to decrease the durability of the tree a bit. And we see to it that Yujiro asks Kirito, "Can you teach me how to be a swordsman? You know, ever since Alice left, you know, her family has been suffering, and it's all because of me. I couldn't even do a damn thing about it. And of course, we see to it he wants to be strong so he doesn't make that mistake again. He wants to become a swordsman and ask Kirito to train him, you know, etc., etc., etc." Not to mention, I missed a couple detailed parts where Yujiro, before he loses consciousness, that he remembers he and Kirito and Alice were actually good friends whatsoever. He's been hiding that fact for a while now, etc., but whatsoever, who cares? Sorry for being a little disorganized, sorry, and going back. But now going back to Yujiro asking Kirito to train him, and Kirito's like, "Fine, I'll train you, but this is not going to be easy, you know that." Eventually, we have to that, I don't know how much time passes by, but Yujiro managed to chop down the tree thanks to Kirito's training whatsoever. And there's a celebration, you know? I mean, everyone's very happy that the demon tree's all cut down whatsoever. And eventually we see to it that there's a scene between Selka and Kirito, and Selka confesses to Kirito, like, "I didn't go to that cave to imitate my sister, you know? I went there to see how far I could go." I'm thinking in my mind, yeah, but you almost got yourself killed in the process. You were asking to get kidnapped or possibly get killed whatsoever. I could care less about what her reasoning is, but you know, whatever the case may be, Kirito encourages Selka like, there's something that's unique for you. You're not like your sister, but there's something that's like that makes you unique, you know? Focus on that and just keep going. Eventually, the village elder congratulates Yu-Gi-Oh for having to chop down the demon tree, which I go like, yeah, but he ain't the one that chopped it down entirely, you know? But whatever. And Yu-Gi-Oh explained that he has a wish to become a swordsman, and the village elder decides to agree to that. He has no need to ask why. Eventually, we see to it that Yu-Gi-Oh tells Selka, like, I'm gonna bring Alice back here, you know? I'm gonna go to the freaking, like, Central Cathedral or Central City, whatever that place is called, and I'll bring Alice back here. So I want you to wait for me, okay? Is that fine? And we see to it that Selka ends up in tears of happiness and says, I'll wait for you, so you all three better come back. You got it? And we see to it that Kirito ends up waiting for Yu-Gi-Oh while he's holding some kind of brown wrapped cloth up item whatsoever, impossibly. And we don't know what that is, but all I know is like Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito ends up like their journey to like go to that city and find a way to bring Alice back to the village whatsoever. Aside from that, the action here, along with its art and animation, was pretty slick. I mean, like, I won't deny that. I thought it was pretty fun to see those two in action. You know, of course, the memories about Yu-Gi-Oh, Kirito, and Kirito finally remembers. I don't even know how that freaking works in a certain sense, but whatever. It is what it is. Nothing can be done about it. But aside from that, the fight with the goblins, chopping down the demon tree, and going to the city to bring Alice back. Of course, Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh are going to do that. And of course, you know, that girl whatsoever that was behind Yu-Gi-Oh, she says she's waiting for them at the top of the Central Cathedral whatsoever. But, sorry for repeating and stuttering very hard, but, So, as the episode continues on, yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh almost got himself killed, or could have gotten killed, if it weren't for Selka and Kirito helping Yu-Gi-Oh out with everything they got. And of course, Yu-Gi-Oh training as a swordsman, wants to become a swordsman to bring Alice back to the village whatsoever, believing she's still out there. So, we'll have to see. Aside from that, like I said, simple episode, fight with the goblins, chopping down the demon tree, and going on a journey to bring Alice back, pretty much. So, overall, thought it was pretty cool. Although some things bothered me, knowing that Kirito got a cut on his arm, you know, from the goblin leader, and apparently he could still move it. I'm pretty sure, like, that kind of bothered me a bit, but a lot of you might be telling me, dude, this is cyberspace that Kirito is possibly in right now. You can't expect a lot, you know? I mean, think about that, like, back in the original SAO, a lot of injuries, but that didn't stop him from, like, swinging and moving his body all the time, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, whatsoever. But I thought this one might be a little bit more different and a little bit more realistic, but it's pretty unrealistic in terms of cyberspace and everything else altogether. But yeah. Anyways, looking forward to next episode. Whatsoever. Didn't like I'm looking to the preview of the next episode title, but looking forward to see where Kirito Yu-Gi-Oh will be heading and where they're gonna have to go through in order to like bring Alice back. But aside from that, that's about it. I will see you guys in my next video. I'm Alpha Zero, people. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time, alright? Peace out. Bye-bye. Toot-toot-toot!